for our site plan permit. But we essentially, I don't think this village can actually grant us the site plan permit until we've gotten FEMA to accept it. So it's a longer, more drawn-out process, unfortunately. We're kind of joking before the meeting, but we'd love to move this along as quick as possible. But the way your code reads, and again, it's not unique, and that process is a pretty standard process in the engineering community as far as how to go about that.
Is that a holding pond that you're creating?
No, we wouldn't. These are basically design holding areas.
Yeah, that's the one of there.
No, this is already there. This exists.
Okay, so that's right next to your site, and over there on the right of it, where you're talking about,
right.
That's not a new holding pond. That is just a...
No, that's a ditch that's again connected. There's a series of ditches and culverts that go under.
I'm familiar.
Right. So no, we're not proposing any new water courses. We're not proposing any new designated storage areas.
Okay.
What our contention will be, and will be before you shortly with it, is that there's not a need for it. That the flood area is really consolidated to the two flanks of the property, and we're going to let that be. Those are in wetland areas, those are in floodplains. We're not looking to fill those areas. We're looking to just keep them.
Can I go and ask you a question?
And stay on the high ground, of course.
All right, the amount of acreage that's right there in the entire plot, the entire area, the green space that's surrounded. You own which aspect do you own?
We own
within.
Simpler look at it.
Right, that's what I thought.
Right, we own that whole parcel.
So, of that parcel, how much of it would remain designated wetland?
I don't have the exact figure that off the top of my head. Yeah. So
okay.
What we're looking to develop
is the same parcel right there. That's what you want.
Correct. We're looking to develop approximately 2 acres of the total 7 and change. So
of 7, fine. Yeah. That's great. Okay.
This area is about 2 acres.
Okay.
Also,
gotcha.
So essentially, the next move is having your guy do a study, find out if it can actually be. And
correct.
He's pretty sure about that now, but a lot more.
Yeah, about a month to go through the engineering. Okay. We're doing surveying right now in the area, getting a lot of the specifics that FEMA kind of glosses over when they do the large, town-wide. In this case, it was a huge county update that happened a couple of years ago. And Leonard Jackson was actually one of the firms that did that work a couple of years ago. So that's why we selected them. With their historic knowledge in Goshen already, and with FEMA in this area, they have a lot of information.
And they feel confident that with their study they can get FEMA to change their mind. Because I know a lot of people have had issues with new floodplain lines and all that.
Right. In a month we'll know that answer for sure, based on the information they have. They're confident. And it's not cheap.
Well, you're not the only parties, obviously, in this village who's been affected by this.
Correct.
There's another development there that's been put on hold because of this redrawing of the flood plain area.
Yeah.
A lot of current property owners will pay for flood insurance.
Right.
So it impacts a lot of people.
I assume, looking at this, obviously to the left side of your property, that's a retention pond that's there for the highway. I assume that piece of property to the right would not be buildable.
Off our property or on?
Yeah,
You better make no comment.
Really, this area.
I mean, how big a piece of property is that?
I don't know if this. I think this is. I don't know if this is another tax lot. Take a look at the tax map. I thought maybe that.
I think it's the same, and it's owned by. Well, it used to be other. Who owns it now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if the other is 7 and change, that doesn't look to be.
Harry Brown.
That's right.
I think he owns the whole thing.
I do that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other tax lot. There's no other private property that exists within this, island, so to speak. Right. This is the only property. I think this is part of actually the right of way. Part of the state property.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's nothing else coming in there?
No, there was Old Matthew Street. It was 2 lots at one point.
Yes, it was.
I think it was consolidated and that was.
We remember that.
Keep pointing at me when you say that.
You're the one who remembers it.
Do you remember that?
You know what? Now I told you it was a good thing.
So in terms of our plan, getting back to just some of the specifics, as Jeff mentioned, what we're proposing to do is dual entrance building. We want to treat the side adjacent to the quickway at 17 with the same architectural elements as the front. So the idea is, even though maybe it has less of a function, it's going to have basically a front door type architectural treatment on the front and the back. building. We've tried to locate the loading zone, which is typically, opposite the gas in most of our facilities. We've tried to put it on the side. We don't really have a rear, so to speak, because we're going to be so visible from all ends. So we're putting the loading zone on the side. I think that's the least visible in terms of the site itself and where we could put that. We haven't developed landscape plans and grading plans, what have you, but the idea is to, put some treatments, maybe some low-lying berms, things like that, to give us some, some architectural and some landscape features.
I really wanted to see that.
What's that?
I really wanted to see that. I wanted to see how you're going to break up, even if we're talking about, I understand you're appreciating the sensitivity. You can take off your jacket, so they so hot, but it's
Question.
It's fine, and then I'll get to it.
Okay.
The sensitivity to how bad the other project up the street looks because the back was never treated.
I knew you were going.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I totally appreciate it. I would like to understand better your concept. When you go in for a new development there, as we did with the Grand Union and forever came for the next 27 years after that in our attempt to try to get grocery store, the parking area is broken up by tree and period lighting. And I think that would not be a tremendously expensive thing for you to include in your presentation to make it be more appealing to an historic community. On top of that, as I said to you before, I went to visit both of your sites, and I appreciate the brick. And there are little facial differences that you can make that are not going to be tremendously cost prohibitive, that I think will make it be more fitting to the character of the community. And you know me, I was very upfront with you, get rid of the plastic. Now the plastic is there. That's it.
So, you guys obviously have a lot of experience, and this is, as you said, a much more difficult planning process because of the wetlands issue. What kind of time frames do you experience going to FEMA and trying to get the contract?
Roughly,
Ballpark,
start to finish 1 year.
And they hired the right men. I mean, they hired the people who did the work for FEMA.
Yeah, I think if we have a good comfortability level with Leonard Jackson and Talent, I mean, we could pull the trigger, but as Jeff said, I think any approval, if so, we earn that right to get approved, would be contingent upon that FEMA approval coming to us.
Sure.
I don't know, we have to look, I don't know if we can't come in.
What we would like to do in terms of the process overall is, so figure we're going to do our engineering in the next 4 to 5 weeks with Leonard Jackson in terms of the flood. Then we'll develop our engineering plan on this particular property and likely file that in 2 months. At that time, we'll appear again before this board, more or less put our presentation on with the engineering and essentially focus in on the flood type issues. You guys would likely have it reviewed by Lankin Tully. Refer us to hopefully a meeting or two to say, okay, we understand there's no other impact to any other properties of this village. It's simply isolated to this particular property. We're able to engineer a solution in terms of not impacting any other properties or the flood elevations on any other properties. We prove that to you. You then endorse us, and the process of FEMA is probably 4 to 6 months. So when I say a year, I'm assuming approximately 2 months to get your endorsement, plus or minus, 4 to 6 months with them. What we'd like to do during that FEMA process, more or less, if Leonard Jackson stands behind the work, I can tell you our office is involved. At that point, when we go to FEMA, we're going to be, 90+% confident in our outcome.
And you're expecting the back end going forward, which is very helpful.
Correct.
Right.
So at that point, once we've gotten your endorsement, we will likely pull the trigger on the full planning board review process as well. And hopefully that can happen concurrent with the FEMA, and either conditional approval based on the findings under secret and what have you, or get to a process where basically at the finish line waiting for the FEMA. And, as opposed to putting them back to back, I think that the planning board process and the FEMA process can happen essentially simultaneously.
Anybody else? I don't want to be sorry. I totally appreciate that being your approach. And I think that's why I'm being so forthcoming and trying to say to you that you're looking